RWBY Chibi Season 2, Episode 14, Cannonball. This was actually a really awesome episode. I knew when the episode officially first premiered, before it was like finally free up on YouTube for me to see it, I know a lot of people were super excited for this one because it was like, you know, here comes winter. Like, we were actually getting a chibi version of winter, which I think I mentioned this in like my very last review. It was like, you know, at this point, I think they would have told us if we were getting new characters, so I just assumed we weren't, but I still asked the question, like, you know, which characters do you guys want to see still? Which characters do you guys want to return? And I basically got everything I wanted in this because I've been waiting for Penny forever because we've only seen her like 2 full times. And so I was like, sweet, Penny's actually in this, and I thought that was great. Then we also do end up getting a new character in the second skit, and then in the third skit we actually get something like brand new where it's the Grimm as like talking characters. So I thought that was awesome. Like, I loved all 3 skits for, you know, very different reasons, and they were all funny in their own right. But I think my favorite was probably the first one, mostly for Jean freaking out when Penny's like plotting attack vector and he like freaked out. And then of course when RWBY came to the guys and was like, hey, have you guys, you know, seen Penny? He's like, what's that? I don't know that. So I just love the delivery on it, but I thought that was a really good one. I love the fact that Zwei was the lifeguard on duty in the background, so that was funny. But that was a really good skit. The second one I love, where we get to see like the different pairings of the characters. Of course, you know, Crow and RWBY end up sneaking candy to the movie. I love the fact that they had RWBY singing Crow's theme song as she's just kind of like looking at this water fountain. She was singing his theme song as he was walking up. And then we have Yang and Tai Yang. Naturally, we have a pun in there, so that was good. And then Blake and Sun go off to try reading, so I thought that was cool. And then I love the way they did Weiss, where she was just waiting for someone, and they do like this slow pan backwards where she's like kind of just staring straight on with no expression. She blinks for a couple of seconds and it just like slowly pans back, and then she's like, ah. But then of course that's where we get our new chibi character in Winter. So it was awesome to see her. You know, they talk, and Winter's doing her older sister's super prim and proper deal where it's like, you know, you need to tell me this, you need to tell me that, stop doing this, stop doing that. And I love the fact that they put the joke in where she's like, I won't let my little sister stay in any abode that's not up to code. And then she's like, don't mistake my rhyming for a cheery demeanor. And I thought that was just a great line to put in there, because typically when things rhyme, it's just like, oh, that's funny and cute that it rhymes. It's like, you know, don't mistake that. I'm very serious. So I like that they put that in there. And then of course, the third skit was awesome. You know, it just starts off with the villains and the evil plan, and then it goes into like, first that will blah blah blah, and then it pans back to these 2 Grimm just talking with each other and hanging out, and then they go get some coffee and they pour one out for the homies. So that was just really silly to me. And then the Ghost Grimm comes back, and the Ghost Grimm is not nearly as epic when it talks, because it is just like this silly character that's just like calling them dingoes, and I forgot what the first thing even was, but it was something before dingoes, and it's just like the annoying character that no one likes, and then the one Grimm tried to fight it and stuff. So I love that just because like they have these 2 Grimm, and then the way it is I thought was great, because it's like super dark, but it, you know, for them it's like that's super fun. It's like, hey man, why don't we go like tear the flesh off of some innocent people? And for some reason, I guess when people use the word flesh, it sounds like more visceral. It wasn't just like, hey, why don't we just go eat some people or attack some people? It was like, why don't we go tear the flesh from some innocent civilians or something? And it's like, man, you always know what to say. And then it just cuts there. So I love the way they did that, where it's like, that's really a super dark thing to hear, but for them it's like, why don't we do that? Why don't we just hang out and have a good time, man? So I love the way they did the ending skit. I love, like I said, all 3 for this episode. I think they were actually all fairly balanced compared to how they've normally done it this season, where it would be like the first one and the last one are longer than the middle one. I think they were all fairly well balanced. I think the first one probably was the longest one, and maybe it was still that way where the first and last were technically the longest, but they all felt like they were kind of the same length, to me at least. So, you know, I thought that was an interesting balance, because normally I can tell it's like, okay, this one lasted for like, you know, nearly 20 seconds, and then it's like, boom, it's done, and then you're on to the third skit, and like the middle one's just super, super short. But they all seem to have a nice, decent size to them and seem, you know, fairly balanced out. But I really enjoyed this. Like I said, we got to see Penny, we got to see a new character come in, you know, get chibified, and we got to see Talking Grimm. So all of that was really good. We got some new stuff. We got, you know, a character that doesn't show up a ton. We also did get to see both Crow and Tai Yang. They've showed up quite a bit recently, so now I'm starting to get more familiar with them. It's not as surprising or anything when I see them. It's like, it's still cool, because the adult characters still aren't shown nearly as often, not counting, of course, the villain characters. But I still think it's really cool to see them in there, even if it's, for quick scenes like this one. But really enjoyed this episode. Of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And I actually want to know what you guys thought about the Talking Grimm skit, because that one really surprised me. I thought it was going to be, the silly plan, or the characters all talking about the plan around the Grimm, like, I don't know, maybe this will work, maybe that'll work, and, maybe we ought to switch this up or something. And then it went into just talking Grimm and then being sad that Yang, the blonde girl with the bad puns, killed one of their buddies. So I really enjoyed it. It was definitely not what I was expecting when I first went into the skit, but I really enjoyed it. And like I said, it really changed my perspective on like the spirit Grimm, which is super cool. And then just talking, and they even kind of make fun of it. It's like, you should see me when I possess a bunch of rocks, like way taller than you two dingoes. So I like that part. It was definitely funny. It was like, yeah, that's the cooler side of this character. So I thought it was actually kind of awesome. But would love to know what you guys thought about the Talking Grimm skit for this episode. And of course, I would love to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.